Hello and welcome to a new SOLIDWORKS API video. Today we're going to be doing SOLIDWORKS PDM API and we'll look at how to create a PDM add-in from scratch. Alright, what I have right here is Visual Studio launched in administrator mode. So go ahead and launch your Visual Studio with administrator privileges. And let's just go ahead and create a new project. So go to File, New, File, New, and then Project. I'm using Visual Studio 2017, so if you're using 2012, 13, or 2015, then you're probably going to have less options that I have right here. Go to Visual C# right here from the left side of this new project window, and choose Visual C# on Windows Desktop. Since we're going to develop an application for Windows Desktop, you're going to see a bunch of options here, and go ahead and choose class library. If you're using the 2017 version of Visual Studio, then pick the one that has .NET framework. Now, after doing that, we'll give our add-in a pretty simple name. Let's call it my PDM add-in, my simple PDM add-in. And if you'd like to create a Git repository, then you can go ahead and check this. I'm not going to do that for this really simple demonstration. Let's go ahead and click on OK. And Visual Studio will basically create my project for me. Alright, let's give it a second to create the project, and then we'll get started. Alright. Taking a little bit longer than usual. Alright, I'm going to click here on the name of the project and just copy it. I want to rename the class to my simple PDM add-in, and that's going to automatically ask me if I want to rename it in the code area here. So I'll click on yes, and that will rename the class here. Now, before we start doing the actual coding, we need to set up our project, set a few project properties, and add the references. So let's start by going to the project properties and setting that up. So in your Solution Explorer right here, right click on the project item and then go to properties. And in your properties, you can go ahead and click on assembly information, and this will list the to be compiled DLL information. You can change the title, give it a description, the company name, etc. Do not choose or do not check the make assembly com visible. This will basically make all of our public classes com visible, which is simply making our classes accessible by non-managed code, so non.NET code. We'll talk about what com is, and these are the steps that we're going to take, or the options that we want to set in our project properties, or part of making our .NET assembly com compliant. So we'll, instead of checking to make all of our classes, public classes, com visible, we'll do that manually here. All right, so click on OK, and then let's go to the Build tab. In my Build tab, I want to go down here and then register for com interrupt. And again, this is another compliance requirement. Our types need to be registered via a specific utility in .NET, and this will kind of bridge the gap between our compiled .NET library and the world of non-managed code inside Windows. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the debug tab, and in my debug tab I want to start my my debug process with an external program, and that external program is going to be something I've developed internally here in CAD Sharp to help me debug PDM add-ins. Now you have the options of using Windows Explorer or Notepad. Anything basically that will give you access to the vault, or that's where exactly we're going to be testing our code. So feel free to use Notepad, and when you use Notepad, as soon as we start debugging, you're gonna see Notepad being launched here in your computer, and you want to go to File, Open, and then browse the vault. The same thing with Explorer, except that you want to kill Explorer, start your program, and then that will start Explorer again, and you can just go ahead and browse to your to the vault. All right, so I actually have it right right here, so I'm just gonna copy this path and just browse really quickly, and there's copy this, or rather select the PDM add-in debugger, and this is basically a very simple console application that opens the open file dialog. That's all it does. Open. All right, so it added the complete path name to this executable. Is there anything else that we need to add here? Actually, no. I think this is the bare minimum that we need in terms of project settings. So let me go ahead and press Ctrl S to save the progress. All right, now let's go to our class and let's add a few things. So let's go ahead, as I said earlier on, and set this class to be COM-visible. So I will start by adding an attribute, and that attribute is COM-visible. Sorry. And the value here is true. Now I don't have IntelliSense because I'm not actually I don't have the correct namespace, so that namespace will be system.runtime.interrupt services. There you go. Next, I want to add a GUID, which is a unique way of identifying a class in your Windows system. So you can go to Tools right here, and then go to Create GUID. And this is just a pretty cool utility here in Visual Studio that lets automatically creates GUIDs for you. So just copy this guy here and just paste it, and there we have it. All right, now we need to add a DLL, which is basically the SOLIDWORKS PDM interoperability DLL. Now you have the choice of going to your PDM installation and browsing to that DLL. I think it will be called epdm.interrupt.epdm.dll, and simply just adding it here by going to References, right click, and then Add, and then browse to that DLL and add it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use a NuGet package that I've added to NuGet.org. Let's go ahead and go here and then write package manager console. And you'll have to excuse me if I'm writing and looking at my keyboard too often. I've actually been trying to learn how to use QWERTY. I've been using the Azurity layout for the past 13 years of my life, so this is a pretty pretty cool experience I'm embarking on. So sometimes I hit the wrong keys. All right, this is going to open the package manager console, and this will connect us automatically with NuGet.org and will allow us to install packages. So all right, so the command that we're looking for is install package, and our package is called CAD Sharp dot SOLIDWORKS, yep, dot PDM, and then press enter, It's gonna install a new reference here, and actually it did. And the reference is epdm.interop epdm. We also noticed that it executed an action here. I think that specifically means, and maybe I'm wrong, that it also did execute a script, or that might be the total time it took to install it. But anywho, the NuGet package actually executes a pretty simple script that sets the embed interrupt types to false here, and this is pretty crucial when you're developing actually SOLIDWORKS add-ins or SOLIDWORKS PDM add-ins. And for that matter, I think any add-in that uses, or any application that would use COM assemblies, just like this one here, right? So this will allow us to add a new namespace, and that namespace is, you probably guessed it, epdm.interop.epdm. All right. Now we simply need to, to implement the IEDM add-in 5 interface. And what this interface is asking us to implement is two pretty simple methods. The first method is the get added info, just asking us to define or to introduce our add-in to your PDM administration tool. And the on command method here, we'll look at that in a second. And you might have you can notice that it starts with on, and you can kind of guess that this will be invoked whenever a command in PDM is executed. So it's kind of like an event handler for PDM events. All right, so let's start by adding some info about our add-in. So PO info dat, I'll add the add-in name, and I'll stay pretty much loyal to the name I've used, although I think you guys can come up with better names than I did, right? But we'll keep it simple because this is a simple demonstration. So PO info dot description. So give it this is a silly description. All right. Now I'll add also a company name. So, company, right? And that will be, I'll see. Oops. All right. And finally, I will add the version. So that will be, where is it? All right, there it is. And pretty disappointed that PDM doesn't, it has one field, one integer that you can use as a version for your add-in. It doesn't allow you to do the major minor patch pattern of versioning. So that's the way it is in PDM. So next we're gonna set the minimum PDM requirements, and this is the lowest version that can support this add-in, most PDM version. So that will be PO info dot major, and that will be, let's pick 6, just like most SOLIDWORKS PDM examples do. And for the minor one, we'll pick 4 as well. So we need to be able to add something called a hook. Now, what the hook is asking our add-in will ask for PDM to notify it whenever a command takes occurrence. So we do that through this parameter here, the command manager. And unfortunately, the command manager is only accessible through this interface. So if you were thinking about developing a standalone, then, or referencing this interrupt DLL in another project of yours, and then you're not going to be able to use the command manager. So let's just add a hook. Add a hook to when a file gets renamed. So we will be notified whenever we rename a file in our PDM vault, and that's what we want to do right now. So that will be PO command manager, right? Add hook. All right. What's the command type? I think it's called prename. So prename, it should be somewhere here in our list. So prename, and this will take occurrence before the name gets, before the file gets renamed. So here, let's go ahead and take and get the file name. So that will be string. Let's call it path name, right? And this list here of EDM command data is basically a list of the affected files by this command. So it can be sometimes you can get a list of files. In our case, that's going to be just one file because we're going to rename one file. So that will be the first guy in this array. Oops. So that will be at the index 0 dot. And this is basically a structure. So this field right here, I think is the first one, will give us the path name, the complete path name of the file. And you can check this using the SOLIDWORKS PDM help. Now we can simply just print this to the console, just keep it really simple and nice, and just say that string format, we'll format it, make it look cool, that 0 is about to be renamed. All right. All right. So we have our PDM add-in. Let's just go ahead, let's just go ahead and save. Now, I want to go, before we start debugging, I want to go ahead, there's one step that we need to do, and let's just go ahead and build. So go to build here and just build solution that will build our add-in. So the build process has been started. Let's give it a few seconds to build our add-in. All right, so the build has succeeded. I want to right-click on my project here and then open folder in File Explorer. And I want to go to my bin folder and the debug, and I just want to copy this path because I'm going to need it in a second. Now, in order to be able to debug, we need to add our add-in to our Vault debug section of our Vault add-in debug section. There's a section of the Vault where you can add add-ins specifically for the purpose of debugging without having to deploy them into your PDM system. So let's go to my PDM administration tool, and you're going to need an account that has admin access to be able to do this. So go to the Vault and then expand it, and then go to right-click add-ins and then debug add-in, and I'm going to add an add-in here, and this is where my the path that I copied comes into place. So I'll select this, click on open, and then click on OK. All right, now I can go ahead and click on start. And this is gonna recompile again, and it's it's going to ask me to browse to the PDM vault, because technically I could have included the path name for the vault here when I added the program when I added the path name to the start program, but I'm just going to go ahead and let's log into PDM first, and then I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. But this is particular to this tool. All right, if I go back here, I have this debugger designed in a way that I can actually add a command line argument here, and that command line argument will be, or as I use it to be, the path to my vault, so I don't have to browse to the vault every time I debug. All right, now I want to try to keep these two guys, the debugger here. Yep, and I'm also going to go to the vault here and try to minimize it. Right. All right. So let's go ahead and rename this file, and renamed Excel. And when I hit on enter, it's going to rename the file. But it did not print here. It did not print it here in the debugger. Let's see what is wrong. What's wrong is that I didn't actually add the parameter to the format, but nonetheless, it didn't actually pick up the hook here. So let's just close from this for a second and go back to the administration tool and just see if the add-in has been added. Okay. Now rename. All right. Let's here add path name. All right, and let's see if we can actually add a command, 2 breakpoints here. So let's do this again. Back to the vault. All right, so it did actually pick up the add-in, since it's right now hung on this breakpoint here. So do that, and now let's go back here, and then let's rename it back to what it was. So Excel. All right, so it actually picked up. So if I remove this and I click continue, it should show here that renamed Excel, which was the name before the actual file was renamed, is about to be renamed. All right, let's just close this guy here. And I think this is it, guys. This is how you create a PDM add-in. I hope that you've liked the video. Feel free to share this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, feel free to leave a comment or a question about SOLIDWORKS and SOLIDWORKS PDM. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.